Test Drive is back. I've been looking forward to playing this game since it was first announced, so I binged the PC demo on a day off, exploring all that it had to offer, and these are my thoughts on what I played. I think the most important thing to mention first is that the game feels like a Test Drive game. It's been 13 years since the last Test Drive game released, so I had my concerns that recent entries from franchises such as Forza and Need for Speed may have encouraged the developers to take the Test Drive formula in a different direction. I'm happy to say that the Test Drive formula is clear to see, and the overall game direction seems very positive. If you haven't played a Test Drive game before, let me explain. Test Drive games are usually set in a large open city with plenty of roads to explore, plenty of cars to purchase, and an abundance of races and challenges to complete. There isn't really a storyline to Test Drive games, rather just a natural progression as you advance through the game, increasing your reputation to unlock more challenging races, car parts, and more. Speaking of unlocks, the game's unlock pacing was great. Challenges, races, and car-related unlocks occurred at a nice steady pace. So the Test Drive vibe is there. What about the driving experience? The driving experience is fairly accessible with default driving assists on, and probably comparable to recent Need for Speed games. I did decrease the assists a little and noticed that the back end of my cars wanted to swing out a lot more. At times this definitely cost me valuable milliseconds, but it was good to know that a small alteration to the assists led to a shift towards a more simulation style of driving. I would not, however, describe the handling model as being simulation in any sense of the word. Before I talk about the races experience, I think it's important to address my biggest negative with the game at the moment. Whenever you want to start a race, the game attempts to connect to a server in order to search for real players to fill up the race lobbies. This has many issues. The first is that the game often doesn't connect to the server, which results in an inability to launch the race at all. So you have to keep trying until the game just accepts it and launches the race with AI. This gave me massive concerns due to what happened to Ubisoft's The Crew, which is no longer playable at all due to always online requirement, and the servers have been closed. I seriously hope that an offline mode is available, or I'm deeply concerned for this game's future. Moving on to the start line. There are 5 different race types in the game, which are Sprint, Circuit, Duel, Domination, and Time Trial. I'm sure Sprint, Circuit, and Time Trial are pretty self-explanatory, but Duel and Domination perhaps not. Duel is a straight-up 1v1 race, while Domination gives you points for your race position at checkpoints throughout the race. The higher your position at checkpoints, the more points you get. The winner of the event is the racer with the most points overall, and not necessarily the one who crosses the finish line first. So you've got to be doing your best throughout all of the race to win, and not just get a last second catch up. There are off-road races too, which require specific eligible off-road cars or trucks. Even with hefty assists on, these vehicles handle rather different on the off-road tracks and races. The overall race experience was good fun, but the AI left a lot to be desired. For the most part, the AI in the demo were at lower skill levels, but that said, they still seemed pretty dumb and could use some improvement. The out-of-race AI seemed to have an IQ of less than 70, because they don't react in ways you'd expect. I didn't experience this myself, but I read that some players have taxis yeeting themselves off cliffs and other related AI flaws, so the AI could use some improvement before launch, that's for sure. I'm sure from the footage I've shown so far that you've got a pretty good idea what parts of the map look like, but the map itself is rather large, which comes with both positives and negatives. Positives of a large map is that there are loads of roads to explore, plenty of challenges and objectives to complete. But having a map this large also means it can't possibly be filled unless you decide to be the Forza Horizon series, where you've got pointless crap littered every 5 yards. Joking aside, the map as you drive around does feel a little empty, but the Test Drive games aren't known for being rammed with content. It's all about the roads to drive on and the car owner's experience. Once the map starts to fill and races are literally many miles apart, it's great to have fast travel that enables you to zip around the map. What's extra cool is that you can fast travel straight inside buildings, which saves on a double loading screen. This is especially good because loading times are quite long at the moment, and there are many loading screens whenever you want to start an event or fast travel. On the positive, the map menu is visually well designed and easy to navigate. There are some nice touches, including hovering over discovered garages to see what cars are available, plus the in-game UI and minimap are very good. There has always been car customization in test drive games, but don't expect Pimp My Ride here. You can customize the exterior and interior colour of your cars and apply vinyls to the paintwork to create a unique look. However, there are no options for changing the bodywork. Performance enhancements are sorted into 6 categories with increasing levels of reputation leading to higher grade parts being available. I don't want to spend long on this because it's a minor part of the game, but the characters overall in the game are rather stiff looking. They do the job, but could definitely do with some improvement.
But not yet.
The character creation options are plentiful, so I'm sure if you've got that creative energy, you'll be able to create some amazing looking drivers. When it comes to clothes, the current selection is pretty limited. I guess it's enough, but if you're going to put in character creations option in the game, you've got to do better than this. Test Drive Solar Crown has glimpses of visual splendour, but in general just looks fine, which is what I'd expect from a smaller game studio using their own proprietary game engine. Unfortunately at the moment the game's performance is quite demanding for how it looks. It seems pretty difficult, at least from my own experience, to run at a locked 60 FPS, so I played around a lot with the settings trying to lock to 48 FPS and eventually 30, but the driving response sucked big time at 30 FPS. Eventually I settled for all high settings at 1440p, getting roughly 45 to 50 frames per second when not capturing gameplay. It was great that changing graphics options didn't require a game restart and changes happen in the background so you could visually spot the difference. The game also provided an illustration of projected VRAM usage, which was great for me as a PC gaming noob. Even as a PC gaming noob though, I could spot that DLSS didn't seem to be having a positive effect on image quality. I found that only TAA was worthwhile using. I did use DLSS quality mode for a short period and the game looked fine, but anything lower than quality mode significantly hurt visuals. In its current state, I have my concerns for console performance and visuals, especially on consoles such as Series S and Switch. Test Drive Solar Crown shows promise but is rough around the edges in its current state. The always online requirement is a real concern and the game's performance is in need of many optimizations and improvements. If these issues can be resolved, then there is glimpses of a fun game underneath.